Hello everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar today where we are talking about site reliability engineering and how teams are taking a software engineering approach to IT operations and just how this is proving successful for them. I'm Kitty Anderson of Broadcom Automation and I'll be your host today. Just a couple of things before we get started. It is a public webinar, so all lines will be muted. We do encourage your questions though. Please use the questions area on the side panel in BrightTalk and we will cover those at the end. The recording of this webinar will be available through the same link you joined today and can be shared with colleagues and associates. We are now ready to get started. So it is with pleasure that I introduce you to Jan Guignon. Today, Jan is a valued member of our product marketing team at Broadcom and a subject matter expert in automation. Looking forward to this. Over to you, Jan.
Thank you. Welcome. This is Jan speaking, and thank you for your interest in Broadcom's automation solutions. During this session, I will be talking about the challenges of site reliability engineering and how automation can be a useful asset for successful SRE initiatives. So maybe you're not used yet to site reliability engineering, but don't be too worried. I will start the presentation by explaining what is behind SRE. And of course, I will provide you with some details about the goals and the principles governing site reliability engineering. During the session, I will also explain how the AIOps solution from Broadcom enables site reliability automation and can help you with improving the mean time to repair and the team's efficiency. So you know the agenda. Now I propose that we start the presentation. And first, a few words about Broadcom. Broadcom has a global approach to automation. If you have attended the previous webinars of the series, you probably already know about our approach. We are not just delivering point automation tools. We are helping customers to adopt an automation center of enablement approach. So this is really about enterprise automation, holistic automation, creating an automation-first culture with reusable building blocks, with an automation ecosystem you can share in your organization. And of course, it's about integrating with all your existing tools, because enterprise automation should not be like a big bang, but more like a way to orchestrate your existing tool chains. There are six main use cases which we are integrating into open source, multi-cloud, and even competitive tools. First, with automation intelligence to provide visibility across critical business processes, even if you are using multiple automation vendors. Multi-cloud automation that automates the delivery of infrastructures and IT services across clouds and ITSM tools. Continuous delivery release automation to automate the deployment of code, configurations, and full stack applications. Workload automation, so this is the traditional automation of business processes across platforms and business applications. Data pipeline automation that automates a mix of data movements and data processing in large volumes. And the last one, site reliability automation to automate problem detection and remediation for improving site reliability engineering initiatives. This is today's topic, and it is really about adding more agility into the IT operations. So these are the main topics we focus on at Broadcom. And now let's dive into today's subject, the site reliability engineering. What is site reliability engineering? The first thing to know is that it is not a new concept. It is based on practices that Google started to put in place some time ago, and SRE was already used by Google before DevOps was mainstream. Now, how to define SRE? If you take Google's definition, SRE is all about teams taking a software engineering approach to IT operations. The main goal of SRE is to handle a bigger volume of changes faster and also accepting the risk of doing more changes into the infrastructure. As I said before, it's like adding extra agility into the IT operations. At the time Google started to implement SRE, it was really a big shift on the way to manage IT operations, because traditionally IT operations have always been limiting changes as far as possible. So I think you know the traditional IT practice, if it is not broken, you don't fix it. And that was exactly what has been done for years. That explains why DevOps and SRE work well together, and also why SRE is sometimes considered as an extension to DevOps, even if SRE is older than DevOps. You can see on that slide there is a lot of convergence between DevOps and SRE. And what I like to say about that is, if we consider the tagline of DevOps to be fail fast, then the tagline of SRE would be recover fast. In fact, SRE and DevOps are two different ways of aiming to the same goal, mitigating the risk of change. So today, maybe you don't think SRE is for you, or maybe it's not for you yet, but you should not be too sure about that, because if you just type site reliability engineering into Google, you will get millions of answers. Many companies are already considering SRE initiatives. You can see on the slide two interesting facts from a recent Gartner survey. It is the latest DevOps survey from Gartner. It was issued end of last year. More than 40% of the companies interviewed by Gartner have already invested in SRE. So they have adopted some elements of SRE. And another 40% of the companies are planning to implement SRE practices in the short term. So even if you did not hear about SRE already, I'm sure it will come very soon. Now, what are the takeaways for site reliability engineering? Three things you should remember. If you read Google's book about SRE, you will find multiple principles governing the practice. And by the way, this is a very interesting book. I mean, the SRE book from Google. So you can read it online. You have the URL on that slide at the bottom on the right. And actually, there is a set of 7 principles that apply to SRE. But I've chosen to focus just on 3 because I consider they are really the important ones. And as a matter of fact, they are tightly connected to AI Ops, and we're going to talk about AI Ops just in the next slides. The first principle is embracing the risk of change. This is really about making the IT infrastructure more agile, and it also means you implicitly accept the potential of failure. The second principle is knowing what is broken and why. Globally, when you accept the potential of failure, you need to mitigate the risk. Then the monitoring, the problem identification, and the resolution are key aspects to your SRE practices. And the last principle is eliminating toil. So in the beginning, for me, toil was a little unusual word in English. In fact, you should not interpret it as some work you don't like to do. In Google's definition, toil is about mundane, manual, repetitive work that delivers little value. Eliminating toil gives you more time for innovation, of course, but also it makes you more efficient to fix problems in bigger volume. At Broadcom, we have discussed with a fair amount of companies worldwide to try to understand how they drive their SRE initiatives. And this is a reality check we made looking at these companies. Most organizations, most IT organizations have difficulties dealing with complexity and scale. So you know that problem. It's about your technology stack that is constantly growing. You're adding quantities of new technologies on top of your traditional stack. And it results in an explosion of the operational data. On one side, point monitoring tools do not help because in fact they participate in the explosion of the operational data, and they generate alert fatigue, putting the operations teams into a reactive mode. So it becomes really hard to manage the infrastructure and to deliver efficient problem solving. On the other side, point automation tools are also a significant roadblock to your SRE initiatives because disconnected automation does not work in complex environments. Manual handovers between tools is hindering your agility, and it is preventing you to reach the level of scale that is expected in those very complex environments. So as an SRE adopter, you need to address a set of significant challenges. The first one, we see that around 70% of outages are caused by changes. So how do you manage the risks introduced by today's large number of changes? The second challenge, most companies have instrumented the technology stack with lots of monitoring tools, many tools, for the network, for the systems, for the applications. But now they have so much data that it is impossible for humans to understand it. So how do you handle such a level of noise? Another challenge is how do we keep downtime and slow services in check? Because of course today, slow is just not acceptable, and I'm sure you know that many people think that slow is clearly the new downtime. And most important, how quickly can you bring the systems back to an operational status? So this is where Broadcom solutions come in. The AIOps solution from Broadcom can ingest structured and unstructured data from diverse IT monitoring tools, and it combines all that into a single data lake. The AIOps solution can get data from any third-party technology, any platform, from the mainframe to the cloud, and it supports a wide range of inputs, things like metrics, events, logs, or even APIs. So by correlating and normalizing and monitoring data with our AIOps solution, you can reduce noise for the operations teams. The teams can reduce their workload, they can gain focus, and they can concentrate on more added value activities. And this is especially important for SRE teams because SRE team members are also involved in development and automation activities. They are not just operators, they are also writing code that supports the operations. So just before we have seen that one of the main principles of SRE is about eliminating toil. That means to eliminate manual, repetitive work that delivers poor value, little value. And the best way to do that is to automate the standard operating procedures, creating more automation that can be consumed for remediating issues and let you manage more volume and handle the scale of modern environments. This is why the AIOps solution from Broadcom now integrates what we call intelligent automation by combining with atomic automation. Automation increases the operational effectiveness of SRE teams. This is what you can see on that slide. In fact, automation enables SRE teams to reduce downtime and to optimize the mean time to repair. It's important to understand that we provide intelligent automation. It lets you enhance alarm triage, root cause analysis, and event correlations with a recommendation engine. So SRE teams are equipped with built-in recommendations for well-known and commonly reoccurring issues. That way, the SRE teams can leverage flexible and easy-to-use automation to handle the fast-changing environments. And this automation solution we have implemented with AIOps. We call it site reliability automation. So what are the main use cases we propose to address with site reliability automation? The first one is infrastructure healing. We enable teams with issue remediation across complex, large-scale systems. We do also service restoration to rapidly restore business operations and of course improve your MTTR. Code healing is there to automatically roll back or roll forward code deployment that had a problem, that gone bad. The integration with the ITSM systems and the rest of the enterprise toolchain will ensure end-to-end automation across functional and technology silos. And of course, the last use case is about audit and compliance, because of course you need to track who did what and when for better managing changes and to stay compliant with your company regulations. So site reliability automation is powered, this is what I said in the slide before, by a recommendation engine, by contextual automation and out-of-the-box workflows for doing the remediation. The remediation workflows have a full contextual awareness of the issues. It means it can be easily reduced, and also autonomous decisions can be programmed based on variables that are part of the workflow and that are extracted from the contextual data. It means information that are extracted from the alarms that were collected. On top of that, we have machine learning that helps teams to choose the most effective workflow for issue remediation. This is a kind of continuous learning process. Each time a team member selects a remediation workflow in a certain context, then the confidence score for the workflow is rated higher for that context. So it increases the effectiveness of the automation remediation, and it really helps to build trust in the system. And the last thing, the AIOps solution that we deliver, including site reliability automation, can be consumed as a service. So we are talking about a solution fully available as SaaS. How do we do that? But before, something very important to remember. Automation is not just another integration, another tool AIOps is integrated with. Atomic automation is a fundamental piece of Broadcom's AIOps solution. It is part of the solution. So I won't go into deep technical details. I just like to give you an overview of the solution principles and also of the user interface in the next slides. On the left side of the slide, you have all the different parts of the systems where we acquire data. You know, we acquire things like alarms, like log files. The data is aggregated and analyzed into our AIOps platform. So it delivers some intelligent insights, things like root cause analysis or predictions, whatever. And then the recommendation engine, in association with atomic automation, can make those insights actionable. So now, just let's have a look on the way it works. So if an alarm appears, so you see that icon, which is highlighted now, we have a remediation recommendation that is delivered to the operations team or to the SRE team. Here you can see that with a 98% level of confidence, the solution recommends the operator to start that associated workflow. So in that example, this is this workflow. It's just a VMware server restart that is recommended. When the user accepts the remediation recommendation, it triggers a workflow that contains the context of the alarm. So it means the workflow is equipped with variables providing all the details of the problem. Then the workflow can start making the necessary additional diagnostics and then do the changes to fix the problem. So it can finally remediate the issue, and that closes the remediation loop. So this is really the core use case that enables users to speed up the response time, to decrease the time to identify the issues, and of course it shortens the service restoration time. So this is globally the way site reliability automation can reduce the MTTR, improve the user experience, and at the same time help to eliminate the operation spoil, meaning that the SRE teams can eliminate manual and mundane work. Okay, now let's have a look on the user experience perspective. What should you get from that solution? What you can see here is the AIOps user interface. This is where you see the alarms, and you can notice on that screen that there is one alarm selected. So there is no recommended action for this alarm yet. So you have to click on the view recommended actions, view recommended remediations on that just here. So you can see a list of available remediation workflows that is proposed. As a matter of fact, there is no learning yet. You can see that the confidence level for the workflows is at 0% everywhere. But now let's see how the solution gets trained. So the user will select a workflow in the list, and then it will be possible to execute that workflow just by clicking on the play button, which is just here. And you can see that the confidence score, for the moment, it is still at 0%. And as the user executes and re-executes that workflow against the same type of alarm, the confidence score is increasing. Of course, this is not limited to one user. It is valid for all the users of the team. So the more users are executing the workflow, the more the solution is learning about how to remediate that type of issue. So every time the same workflow is selected, the solution learns, and you will see the confidence score increasing over time. In fact, this is exactly what I explained just before in the session. The recommendation engine helps you to build trust in the system. The confidence score will increase to such a level that you can safely rely on the recommendations that are proposed by the solution. It's a very important aspect of the recommendation engine we provide, because people in the operations team are not always ready for the fully self-driving, self-healing infrastructure. It is a matter of building trust in machine learning technologies before people let the system to make decisions. And of course, let's make automatic changes directly into production. Because obviously, this is what we're talking about, making automatic changes in production. And there is another way to help building a high level of trust in the system. There is a mechanism in place to let users give a rating to the remediation workflows. Because sometimes when you execute a remediation workflow, it just does not work for you. Sometimes it happens. But you can see on that screen, you can rate the workflows using the thumbs up and the thumbs down icons. So it is possible for the users to directly influence the recommendation engine. Ultimately, when confidence levels are really high, you may like to implement automation policies. So essentially, what you want to do is to set it and forget it. So you can define a rule based on an alarm, and the next time the alarm occurs, the remediation workflow will be triggered autonomously. So the remediation engine enables our customers to start by manually executing remediation workflows based on the confidence scores. And ultimately, when they trust the system, they can set it and forget it. Then they can move towards totally autonomous remediation. So this was my last slide. Now the takeaways for that session. 3 good reasons to trust Broadcom for your automation. First thing, intelligent automation. We've been talking a lot of intelligent automation during the session. The intelligent automation empowers the SRE teams to reduce downtime and to accelerate remediation of issues. With that, you need also a broad ecosystem, because when you select an automation solution, you need to ensure it covers your technology end-to-end. Broadcom delivers automation on the mainframe, on the distributed systems, also on cloud technologies. And the last thing to remember is scale, because your digital future depends on automation. So you need to build your future on a solution that is scalable and that can grow with the business demands. That said, I think it's time to take questions. Kitty, do you have any questions?
Great, very good. Thank you, Jan. Yes, actually, we do have a couple of questions, so keep them coming. Now's the time. First question, is your solution available on-prem?
In fact, for the moment, the solution is only available software as a service. In fact, as this is a new offering, I think SaaS is probably the best way to have a first contact with the product, or even to do an evaluation of the solution. We expect to make the solution available on-prem. It will be by the end of this year.
Okay. One other question here. Why can't you fix problems totally autonomously?
In fact, we can. This is what I explained during the presentation. It's possible to fix problems autonomously. You just have to create what we call a policy. But I think not every company is ready to use fully autonomous remediation. So it is a goal. It can be a vision for you, something you will do in the next month, maybe in a little more. But it needs that you build trust in that type of system, in machine learning, and this is exactly the role of the recommendation engine. It's about learning. It's about proposing solutions. It's about getting feedbacks from users, and in fact building trust and opening the way to fully autonomous remediation.
Yeah, true. Any other questions? Now's the time. Okay then, well, thank you to everyone who joined today, and we sincerely hope that Jan provided you with valuable insights on site reliability engineering. We always appreciate your interest, and we hope to catch you again soon. Have a very pleasant rest of your day.
Thank you.
This presentation will now end.